I feel like my voice is coming in and out, so that's not good. Good morning and welcome back to another episode of Over Easy. How are you doing? My name is Manny, in case you are new here, or welcome back. Hi, it's another episode. We're back on another Monday, whether you're listening on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever. I hope you are having an amazing week or just starting off your week on the right step, because we all deserve a good week and we all deserve a good day, whatever it may be. Let's get started. This week, I don't really have a plan, and I feel like I've been saying that for the last few weeks, and I've kind of enjoyed not having a plan, to be honest. I am really, into being a planner and like planning out every single detail of my life. But more recently, I have, both in life and in my podcast, enjoyed being a little spontaneous, because I think it allows for a little more creative freedom. And for me, my mind is once I have a rigid plan, or once I have a plan in general, I'm very rigid with it. I don't really, I get very obsessive over making sure I follow the plan to a T. So when I don't have a plan, then although it freaks me out a little, at least my mind isn't like, oh, have I done this? Have I talked about this yet? And then it gets kind of unnatural in the podcast episode. So yeah, long-winded answer for saying I don't have a plan. So if this episode is weird, that's okay. Today's episode is just going to be a little chatty update, because I like doing these monthly or like every couple weeks, just to check in with how I'm doing. And maybe if you're not having the greatest time, you can hear about my struggles too, because everyone goes through something. Today is a little special though. The day that I'm currently recording today, it is Thanksgiving in Canada. So it's October 11th, and this episode's going to go out next week. So it's not going to be Thanksgiving anymore, but it's really nice because we have the day off, and also it's just like a wholesome day. I feel like Thanksgiving is very wholesome. So I thought I'd start off by talking about what I'm grateful for, not just today, but in life in general, this past year, and just, yeah. I wrote this in my journal this morning. Let me pull out my journal, actually. This is my journal if you're watching on YouTube. It's an orange Leuchtturm, because orange is my favorite color. And I have a bunch of little red bubble stickers that are stuck on it. Most of them are Animal Crossing themed, and then also hedgehogs and cacti, because those are I can pretty much be summed up in those three things: Animal Crossing, cacti, and hedgehogs. That's like my favorite of life. But let's go to today's entry. I journaled this morning. It's part of my morning routine that I journal, because it gets me started off on the right foot, I think. So let's see. Happy Thanksgiving. I am thankful for a family who helps and supports me. I have more recently noticed that although I live at home and sometimes I complain about it, I'm like, oh, I never get any personal time. I never get any personal space. And I feel like I always have stuff to do for my family. It is really such a blessing that I get to live at home still, and that I am even in a safe shelter, that I can rest and be myself. That's really important. And also just everything that my family does for me. I mean, like any hard task, I have the support of my mom who can help me, and a lot of small tasks that would take up a lot of time, like making dinner every night and stuff like that. My grandparents are here to help as well. So I feel really lucky, because it gives me a lot of time in the day to learn more about myself or work more on my schoolwork and just have a good time. So I really appreciated living at home, although I'm like always teetering between like appreciating living at home and also like wanting to move out ASAP rocky, because I'm a growing girl. I just kind of need my own space. And I think this year, especially like this year and a half with COVID, I've just really realized how much I rely on being up by myself and not being bothered by my family. But yeah, I'm very grateful for that today. And just in general, all the time. Let's see. The second one, I am thankful for a partner to work with and do life with. obviously this past year, I think it's more than clear. I have a boyfriend now. I feel like I talk about it every single episode whenever I can. So I'm sorry, but I am really appreciative of my partner, not just because I have a partner and, we could go do fun stuff together today. Okay, I'll talk about it in my rosebud thorn, but today we're doing something fun and I'm really, really excited. But also more so, I'm thankful for the fact that my partner, my boyfriend, he can help me point out different things that I do that I may not be able to see, whether they be good or bad, because sometimes when you're reflecting on yourself and looking at yourself, you can really only see yourself from your perspective. So it's really hard to sometimes be objective with yourself. I mean, I feel like whether we like it or not, everyone has toxic tendencies or toxic traits or just things that we do that aren't so good. And without my partner, I feel like it would have been a lot harder for me to realize those things and also make me not want to fix them as bad, because for me, a big part of fixing these toxic traits and like fixing myself, I guess not fixing myself, that's kind of a weird way to say it, but just making myself into a better person and growing is because we are working on this relationship together. And I feel like the relationship is like a little baby and we want to take care of it and prioritize it. So in order to do that, we both have to be objective and be able to take criticism about our character and our flaws. And I used to be really bad at that. I used to be really toxic for sure, in some instances, but also I used to be really bad at taking criticism about my character. So I feel like I've grown a lot about, sometimes it's not about me and sometimes it's like literally about helping the relationship and helping the longevity of it. So very thankful for that. And my last thing that I'm thankful for, let me flip through my journal because I lost the page again. I'm thankful for opportunities to learn, work, and grow. That seems very vague, but I am very thankful with all of the work opportunities that I have had in my life and also the opportunity to go to school, because not everyone gets that. I think in this past year, for sure, I've grown a lot and matured a lot in terms of my ability to try new things and put myself in new experiences. In my sentence there, I actually was, when I was writing, thinking more about my opportunities to work. I am very lucky this past year that I was able to articulate myself and ask for a raise in my main job. And that was really, really scary. And it definitely was a big learning opportunity for me because I've never done anything like that. And I never thought I'd have to, because it's just a part-time job. But I feel like asserting your worth and asserting your like the value that you bring to a place, a company, a friendship, whatever it may be, is really important if you feel like you are undervalued or if you feel like there is something that another party could do more of. So I was thinking more of my work experiences, because also this past year I started being a dance teacher like on my own, so I would have to lesson plan and do all of that type of stuff, and that's definitely been a big learning experience for me. I've never done anything like it. Obviously, I have taught kids my whole life, like pretty much every extracurricular I've ever done is with teaching kids, but I've never had to lead them on my own, like on my very own, which is very scary. And now that it's been a couple months, I feel like I have the hang of it ish, and it's a big thing to learn and just understand. And yeah, I think also one of the biggest things that I learned in terms of my work experience is that sometimes, especially because I work with other people, like with kids, their progress does not define how good I am at my job. So when I first started my math teaching job, I was really I took it really personally if a kid was not improving or if a kid was not doing well. Like if a person like if a kid that I've been working with like just had a test at school and they did really poorly, like I would take it personally upon myself that I was like, oh, I'm such a bad instructor. Like how could I have like let this kid do so poorly on their test? But it takes a lot of growth to realize that other people's progress, while I did have a contributing factor to it, there's so many other factors that can affect like how that kid did on the test that have nothing to do with me being an instructor. So that definitely took a long time. And I think that's like partly tied with like seeking validation from other people. If you are secure in yourself, you, like in my circumstance, for example, I would mature and realize that, you know, my progress as an instructor doesn't rely on the fact like of my kids. So yeah, those are some things that I've learned this year, and I'm really excited that I get to graduate this year. I think that's really crazy, to be honest, but I'm really, really thankful for just the university experience. You know, it's really easy to look back on, and I feel like even now I look back on things and I'm like, oh, I wish I could have done this, or I wish I could have done that. But to be able to go to university in the first place is a really great opportunity, and I have learned so much about myself and about school. I think I've genuinely like learned so much and enjoyed learning. I feel like this university is where I learned to actually enjoy learning and enjoy studying. So, and I feel like my education journey is not over yet, even if I'm graduating this year. So I'm not too sad about graduating. I'm just more so very scared to become an adult. That was a little bit long, but happy Thanksgiving, and I hope you are doing well. I hope you had a good Thanksgiving. Last night, my boyfriend and I went to go eat Hot Pot, and it's like this new restaurant in my city where there's like little robot servers, so the little robot will carry your hot pot food to your table, which I thought was very, very cute. But that was my Thanksgiving, and yeah, let's get into our rosebud thorn because I haven't even done that yet, and it's already been so many minutes. So my bud, I'm going to start with that first because I'm really excited. My bud is I'm going on a double date today with one of my friends, actually with Peter. He was on my podcast a couple weeks ago, or like a month ago or so. I'm very excited. We're getting lunch at a restaurant, and then what I'm most excited for, this is why I'm so excited, is my boyfriend and I are going biking along the pier. So where we're eating lunch today, there's like a pier where you can see the water and stuff like that. And we're going to go biking along the pier. And weirdly, I'm really excited for that. I usually don't really like biking. I'm actually kind of scared of biking, to be honest. I'm not very good at it, and I just don't like going fast. But I'm really excited to go biking because I feel like I haven't done it in such a long time. And also, like, my boyfriend really likes biking, and this is like one thing he's been really wanting to do with me. So I was like, okay, finally we can go biking, I guess. So he's also really looking forward to it. So I think it'll just be like a really fun time. And also the weather is so nice today. I don't know if you can see the lighting in my room, but it's sunny, and this is what this will be my rose. What I've been really liking recently is this fall weather. So I think this is like the perfect time of year. I think I've talked about this before, but I can't remember. It's like in the fall when it's still sunny, but it's not freaking hot as heck. So recently it's been actually a little cold recently, a little too cold for my liking, but I think like between 10 to 20 degrees, like on the lower end, like maybe 13 or 14 degrees is like the perfect fall weather, and it's sunny because I've been really, really liking making fall outfits and wearing fall outfits to school or to wherever, and I feel like I've been having a lot of fun with that. And also just the sunny weather makes me so happy. I really hate the rain, and I really hate precipitation in general, so this type of weather, this time of year is like probably my favorite because I love pumpkin spice lattes. Definitely have talked about that on the podcast. I love pumpkin spice lattes. I've been getting them so often. It's like really not good for me, actually. But yeah, I've been just really happy and enjoying the weather, and I feel like I love it so much. I think like because last fall was when COVID was still pretty bad, I didn't really get to fully enjoy autumn. But since this year, although COVID still exists, it's not as bad as before. I can fully really just enjoy being outside and being at school in the fall weather. It's just so perfect. I'm so happy about it. Okay, so that's my rose and my bud. And then my thorn, I guess I would say my thorn is I haven't been sleeping that well. I haven't been sleeping as much as I need, which is not great because for me, I'm like a pretty, like, I prioritize sleep a lot. It's just the way that I've been brought up. Like, all throughout high school, my mom, if I wasn't in bed and had my lights out by 10 o'clock, she would come into my room and just like force me to turn my lights off essentially. And she'd get mad at me. So I've always just been brought up in a way that sleeping is really important, and I've always like slept early, so that's like what I'm used to. But now in like these past few weeks, I've been waking up super early. I wake up at 6 typically on the weekdays so that I can, do my morning routine and go to the gym and just have a nice productive morning. But I haven't been sleeping early enough. In the summer, I slept from, I think I'd sleep at 10 and then I'd wake up at 7 every single day. So to go from sleeping 9 hours a day to now I sleep at 10 and wake up at 6, like I'm not sleeping more, I'm sleeping less. So my body's not really used to it. So yeah, it's been like by the end of the week, I'm usually very tired. Sundays are now my day to do nothing and sleep in. So at least I have like one day a week where I can reset, but it does kind of catch up to me, especially if I have to sleep late, because this week there were a few instances where I had to sleep at like 10:30 or 11, which obviously in the grand scheme of things is not very late, but to my body feels like there's very little sleep. Yeah, on Tuesday I had a meeting and that ran until almost 11. And then on Wednesdays now, because I have my night class, I end class at 9 and then I drove home, so that took me about like 20 to 30 minutes, and then I didn't eat dinner yet, so I had to eat dinner once I got home, so I couldn't really sleep until I think 10:30 that night. So obviously sleeping less is not good because then I wake up tired and then it's just not a good time at all. And I really like doing things in the morning and waking up early to get a kickstart on my day, but when I don't sleep right the night before, it gets really hard. So yeah, that's my thorn. It's been okay. I also have been sleeping a lot this weekend. I slept in this morning as well, and that's been nice. And hopefully I have a little recharge before tomorrow going back to school. This week I'm actually not even going to campus at all because I'm pretty much just staying to study for my midterms. Yeah, because I don't have any in-person classes this week. So I'm going to be staying near home or like whatever. Oh, let me tell you about my weekend excursion because I feel like it was very fun. So typically on Fridays, I hang out with my boyfriend, but this past Friday, he had the day off and he wanted to take some time for himself, and I thought that was fine. So I was just going to study where I usually study, which is like very close to home, and it's like a kind of boring spot. But I was kind of getting tired of it because, I studied there multiple times earlier that week, and I was just like really tired of studying in the same place. I don't know if you guys feel the same way. When I study too often in the same spot, it just gets kind of boring. So I wanted to study somewhere else on Friday, and I was like, I don't know where to study. Like I could just go to a cafe in my city, but I also go to those cafes pretty often because there aren't a ton in my city, and I like to go to the same ones. I already go to like the same one every Saturday and every Sunday, so I didn't want to go to a cafe in my city. So then I was like, should I go to UBC? I mean, like I don't have any classes, and I've been really liking studying in the life sciences building, which is, if you watched my vlog, if you watched my previous vlog, it'll be in the previous vlog. That's where I studied with my friends, and I really like that building because the whole ceiling is glass, so it lets in a lot of natural daylight. But I was like, I don't really want to go on campus just because, I was going to also get lunch after I finished studying. I was like, I don't really want anything to eat on campus. I mean, like most campus food, although it's gotten a lot better ever since I've been in first year. Like when I was in first year, there was no good food on campus. Like it was just all the like processed, prepackaged stuff. But now that we have like legit restaurants at UBC campus, I was like, I could maybe go for some food. But there wasn't really anything that I was craving on campus. Like I'd already had udon that week, and I didn't really want to bother lining up also because campus is so full. So I was like, oh, I don't really want to go to campus. Like, if I'm willing to go to campus, that means I'm willing to drive to Vancouver in the first place. So I was like, should I just go somewhere in Vancouver? Because that's like pretty much the same distance for me. So then I started thinking, I was like, oh shoot, maybe I should just study in Vancouver, because like I'd never get to study in Vancouver and it's just a good opportunity. So I was looking around and I finally decided on studying near Chipotle, which is near the Vancouver City Hall. There's a coffee shop called Aperture, just a couple blocks off of Cambie Street on Broadway. And if you ever get to go, it is very, very nice. I feel like you guys should go. I had the matcha latte and it was very, very nice. And the vibes inside the cafe were just very like cute. They play like soft jazz music. So I didn't even like listen to music the entire time I was studying. I was just like had my AirPods out and just doing work. And that was just a really good time. I feel like exploring new areas through being productive is very fun for me. And I really enjoyed going to cafes. And then because I was in the area, I got Chipotle for lunch, which is like the ultimate treat for myself, because I never really go to Chipotle because I don't live close to it. There's one downtown and then there's one by Vancouver City Hall. So I'd never really get to go to Chipotle. So I was like, oh my God, getting Chipotle for sure. And it was so good. I love Chipotle so much, but like only occasionally. I guess I could actually probably eat it every day. Like I really do like it, but it's like extra special when it's like just a treat and it's just like you get it every so often. I tried the new beef brisket and it was all right, but the beef was like kind of charred and kind of hard. So it was okay. But I mean, Chipotle in general is like really good already. Also, why is the mild salsa so spicy? That's what I realized. I actually like was dying and I only put mild salsa in my bowl, which I feel like such a weenie for saying that, but seriously, so spicy. I thought mild was like not going to be spicy at all. Like I thought it was just going to be tomatoes, but it was like actually pretty spicy. Anyways, so then I got Chipotle and it was very good. And also I went to Whole Foods because there's a Whole Foods in that area too. And I don't know, since I was in the area, I decided to treat myself. I feel like Whole Foods has like so many specialty items and especially foods that like you can only get at Whole Foods. So that was really fun. I got like my things of specialty that I got from Whole Foods is I got a vegan yogurt. The brand of the yogurt is Yotes and it's an oat milk yogurt, which I try to avoid dairy as best as I can. I do have it every so often. I do really like cheese, but just in like milk and yogurt and coffee, I try to not drink dairy just because I don't know. Now I've gotten so used to it that like I just don't really like having dairy. So I got Yotes and it's a blueberry flavored yogurt and it's actually really good. Like the consistency is so good. Previous vegan yogurts that I've had are so like runny and like not very yummy. But now that I've had this Whole Foods yogurt, I feel like I can never go back because it's so good. And I also got a pesto dip. So I've been really into pesto. I got the Costco one a couple months ago and that one was pretty good. It was like really salty though. What I've realized is I really don't like super salty things. The Costco one is quite salty, so I didn't really like it a ton. Okay, actually that's a lie. I really did like the Costco pesto, but it was just like a little too salty at times, especially if I was eating like with salty crackers or whatever. But I found this pesto dip at Whole Foods and it was so yummy. I've had it a couple times now. Yesterday I made like chicken wraps and on the quesadilla I would put a layer of pesto first before I put like the lettuce and the bell peppers and stuff. So good. And then also I've been really into like cheese and crackers, so I got camembert cheese from Whole Foods and then I had these little rice crackers and then I put some pesto on it and then a little bit of cheese and it was so good. Oh my gosh, so yummy. Like actually one of my favorite snacks of all time now is cheese and crackers. Okay, that reminds me of a funny quote that I heard from one of my students yesterday because I was teaching a dance class yesterday. And yesterday's dance class, I teach two classes. One is grade 1 and one is grade 2. And the grade 1s, there's only 3 students and they range from like 3 to 5 years old. So they say some pretty ridiculous things. But yesterday we were doing our stretching and our warm up in dance class, and one of the stretches is like when you have your legs in front of you and you're trying to like stretch your hamstrings and reach for your feet, essentially like reaching for your toes. And usually we go like, smell your knees, like what do your knees smell like today? And then one of my students go, today my knees smell like camembert cheese. I was like, how do you know what camembert cheese is? Like, you are literally 5 years old. She's like, oh, I saw it on the TV a couple times. And I was like, oh, well, I had camembert cheese this morning, like for a snack. She's like, ew, like camembert cheese is so smelly. I was like, I didn't even know what to say at that point, but I was like, and then she jumps in, she's like, but that's okay. Camembert cheese is for adults and not for little kids. I was like, yeah, you're right. Like, camembert cheese is for adults. Like, adults like cheese because it's very yummy. I thought that was just like such a funny moment because, I don't know, it's just like some things that kids say are just like really ridiculous. Anyways, that was a lot of updates and stories about how my week has gone, but I wanted to also just spend a bit more time like updating about life and school in general because I just like doing these little chatty updates every so often, and I feel like if I ever choose to look back on videos that I've made before, then I get a really nice snapshot of how life is for me right now. So this semester has been pretty fun for me in general, but I think the biggest thing that is not so great is like that I feel very stressed out and busy. It just feels like I cannot handle as much as I could before COVID, because when I was in second year, I was pretty much doing the same things. Like, I had a leadership position in my sorority. I was in a sorority. I worked and I just did a bunch of things, and I feel like I'm doing about the same amount as right now. Obviously, the courses, I guess, I feel like my course load in second year was harder than my course load now. In second year, I loaded up on like all requirements. I took 5 courses each semester, and then there were 3 psych courses, 1 econ, and then 1 elective. So that was like quite a heavy course load because I was taking like 3 psych courses at once. But it feels like this year I'm doing the same amount, and I'm only taking 2 core courses right now and 2 electives. And it feels like I can't handle as much as before, which makes me a little bit upset. And obviously I know it's like you really can't compare from then and now because of the extenuating circumstances that we've all gone through the last year. You know, like everyone's mental health has kind of not been doing as well for the last year and a half. And also I think the underlying stress of COVID is still like a big foundation in everyone's stress, I guess. Because, you know, when I go out to cafes, I have to constantly be thinking like, oh, like, should I take off my mask? Or like, is it okay that I'm sitting so close to someone else at another table? It just kind of gets a little freaky. And those kinds of things are always kind of in my mind, and I'm kind of stressed about them all the time pretty much. And especially at campus, like, because there are so many people, you know, when I sit in my discussion class, like sitting right next to someone like kind of freaks me out from the get-go. So yeah, those kind of underlying stresses make school a lot more stressful already, and which I can understand, but it's just like a little upsetting that I can't do as much as before. And I know I shouldn't compare, like as I was saying, but you know, you can't really help it. But yeah, that's kind of been a thing, and I feel like I've been trying to like prioritize doing my finance class because that's been the hardest course for me this year. But it's just feels like it's kind of unmanageable, and I have my midterm in 2 weeks and I feel really not ready. Obviously it's 2 weeks away, that's still a lot of time, so I'm going to be studying like pretty much every day until then to make sure I'm adequately prepared for the midterm. I don't know if anyone else feels that way, like you feel like you can't do as much as before, or like you get really tired and worn out more easily, which is totally understandable. So I guess one thing that we should all remember is that it's okay to not check off everything on your to-do list or not do everything that you want to in a day. I mean, really getting up and surviving the day is already a big enough accomplishment that we should not take lightly. And I think also this kind of ties into hustle culture and productivity, that we should not constantly compare ourselves to people who are constantly doing more or stretching them out too thin, because ultimately we want to prioritize having a healthy and sustainable life that is balanced and manageable. Like, I think right now my life is actually probably not the most balanced it's ever been. Like, I feel like I'm lacking in the social interactions just because a lot of my friends, because we're in fourth year, some people are on co-op and some people are just like really busy doing work and whatever. So I feel like my life isn't super balanced, but better than not having any social interactions at all. And I feel like I really prioritized my physical health this semester by going to the gym. So I think I am doing pretty good. I'm doing amazing for the times that we are living in, you know? Anyways, that's kind of my schoolwork rant. Although I've been really enjoying my urban studies class, I just have found it so interesting, and it's made me think about different concepts in different ways that I've never really had the perspective of before. So I think that's just like a great thing to have. I think that's like the most useful thing about university is that it teaches you so many different perspectives and ways to think about things and analyze issues or events critically, which is very important. So yeah, that's the schoolwork update. It's been like pretty manageable. Wait, actually, it's like tiring, but like definitely manageable, but it feels unmanageable. Does that make sense? Like, cause I always feel like I have a big to-do list of things to do. You know, when I finish this textbook reading for this week, like it's like, should I start for next week? Like, it's just like a never ending to-do list that is kind of annoying, but that's fine. I've been really enjoying Emily Mariko's content. I know I talked about her last week and talked about how her growth was a little bit crazy, but I started watching her on YouTube because I was just curious about like what she does, and I just love her content. I think what gets me the most is her editing, and her way of delivering her content is just so simple, because it reminds me that, you know, content doesn't have to be like overly edited with all these special things, you know. Really what's important about the content is the message that it's delivering, which I hope to kind of emulate in my content as well. And I think also it reminded me that, you know, content doesn't have to be that serious. I think just intentionally documenting your life is already really good for making content, because ultimately the reason that I'm making content is to be able to remember what I do, and like I said before, like a good snapshot of my life. So I think I'm going to try out, I guess, not copying, but just like taking inspiration from Emily Mariko's style of vlogging, and just have it be a little more simplistic for the next few weeks or months or whatever. Because also I've been really stressed out with editing and just content in general. Most of the time, for before last week, the 2 weeks before that, the videos and podcasts that I edited and put up were edited all in one day in like 2 hours, which is really not good because it just makes me feel really stressed out about my content. And sometimes when you rush, you don't always put your best effort into things. So that's been really stressful, and I really have not been liking that. But now that I've kind of been getting a groove for myself, and I've been recording my podcast a little earlier, I just need to find time in the day to be able to edit, because that's the biggest thing, is like editing. And now that I realize, like, oh, it doesn't really have to be super fancily edited, right? Like, I don't need to be putting in like all these handwritten graphics or whatever. Like, content is just delivering the message. And although people like to package it up in a really nicely edited video and stuff like that, if it's not the vibe, like, I don't think it's the vibe of my content. Like, I've always been a very natural person. I've never been someone to dress up and stuff. So I think my content kind of, I want to emulate that as well. So yeah, I think her life is quite interesting. It's like, I really want to be her, but also not really. But I really do like how calm her content makes me feel, and also her cooking content is just really nice, because I really like watching cooking videos, but I don't cook a ton myself. I have been stepping it up with cooking just a little bit. Last week I made like a ground beef marinara pasta, which I thought was really, really yummy. But her cooking is pretty cool. Emily's cooking. Okay, I think that's going to be it for me this week. I hope you are doing well, and I hope you are surviving the semester. Let me know anything you want in the comments or whatever. I will see you soon with my next episode. Bye.
And I was like, yo.